Hey there, this is Dr. Retro Gaming, and welcome to the DRG. That's the name for this place that I'm recording or streaming games from, retro games. The consoles that I'm planning to focus on are Atari 2600, Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, and Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES. There may be other consoles to come, but those are some that are near and dear to my heart when I was young that I played a lot of. And today I'm recording or streaming. I'm kind of going to use those interchangeably, but it's not live, but I'm recording River Raid. River Raid was a great Atari 2600 game, and normally I won't do an intro like that, but since this is the first video of my channel, I wanted to do a little bit more of an intro. But let's stop with the introduction and get on with the gaming. This is River Raid on the Atari 2600. It was made in 1982 or programmed in 1982, and I'm going to start playing right now. It's a very simple game, but one of the best games, I would say, on the Atari 2600, if not the best. You're basically going down a river and destroying helicopters, shooting helicopters, boats, and airplanes that come side to side. You can also shoot fuel tanks. They all give you points. They do move, the helicopters and the boats. The fuel tanks don't move, but the fuel tanks can be used to refuel. You have to refuel, keep your fuel up. At the bottom you can see the fuel gauge, and so it's to accumulate points and don't hit anything. You can't hit the sides of the river, and then when there's a bridge, you shoot the bridge and you go on to the next section. And I believe this is dynamically generated. It uses some sort of algorithm, some sort of seed. I don't know the exact details, but it allows this Atari 2600 cartridge to spawn a lot of maps. When you think about modern games and they have these complex maps and complex detailed levels, well, for the Atari 2600, the game cartridges weren't that big. There wasn't that much to store, but they could still create great games like this with some ingenuity. And I'm not a programmer, so I don't know all the details of it, but I do know that this is a great game. So I'm planning, you can see that I have 3 lives. I'm planning to, got to fuel up and not get hit. So I'm making commentary at the same time I'm trying to not die. And when you shoot the bridge, it unlocks the next section, meaning if you die, you respawn at that point. And you do have to watch those planes coming across. They can kill you. And you can see that I'm getting low on fuel here. And when you get very low on fuel, almost bought it right there, almost died right there. Oh, smart. So that's my first death. And I respawned at the bridge there. Oh, this controller is, I'm going to blame the controller. The controller is it's actually a good controller. I got this years ago. It's like a legacy USB controller. I'm using Stella as the emulator on PC. Now look at that. Look at that amazing gameplay. That amazing that I was able to avoid that. Let's see if I can get this fuel tank. And you can destroy the fuel tanks when you're on top of them. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, you can shoot them as you're on top of them. And if I get low fuel, which I probably will at some point, it makes an alarm sound. And sometimes it's hard to know whether those individuals, the helicopters or the boats. You don't know if they're going to they're going to move. And one thing you'll notice is there's one level where the river changes terrain, and then there's a level where the terrain doesn't change, meaning the sides are parallel. And you get an extra plane every 10,000 points. I don't know if you saw that, but when I got to 10,000 points, it gave me an extra plane. Now, I don't know if he's going to move. He did. Again, very simple game, but very good game. And it's good to destroy that bridge, because then if you die, you would respawn further. But I guess really the objective is to see how far you can get or how many points you can get. And sometimes there's good fuel tanks. See this, it gets kind of dangerous. And see, I shot the fuel tank. As you go further, the fuel tanks are harder to get. There's fewer of them. And you can see that I'm getting low. So I'm going to try, if I can. And I shot that fuel tank. Here we go. Now let's see if we'll hear that alarm sound. Oh, we didn't. It was about to sound the alarm when I was getting very low. I was getting to E. Getting to E gallons of fuel. Not that much. So you just... So actually, in preparation for this, I didn't practice a lot, but I did play a little bit, basically to test the emulation software. I'm using Stella on Windows. This is Windows 10 that I'm using, and I'm using OBS, the video capture software, which I think is pretty common, at least as I'm recording this. And it seems to work pretty well. I actually was thinking about using scan lines, because obviously Atari 2600 was on CRT, on cathode ray tube. See? That's not very good. Sometimes it's rough because you don't know if they're going to move. Now, when I start this, I don't know if he does move, and they're very close. It's very hard to see if I can go over here and get some fuel without dying. I was planning on maybe using scan lines. I decided not to. Even though it would look more vintage, it would blur it a little bit. I did use RGB versus no RGB. No RGB at all. If I'd used no RGB, it would have looked, what's the word? Is the word pixel perfect? Meaning it would look maybe not so vintage or not so retro, and so I wanted to give it a little bit of a retro look. I don't know if I'm planning to do that for NES when I stream or video NES. I know I'm talking a lot, but since this is the first video, I feel like I have to talk some and give some good commentary about lots of different things. But I'm looking forward to streaming. I'm looking forward to streaming a lot of games on NES and SNES. So I'm going to try again. So I got to 19,000. Let's see if I can get further than that. And maybe I'll say this in every video, but if you have certain requests for games, especially Atari 2600, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, leave a comment. I'm happy to play or test multiple games. I'm certainly not the best gamer, as I almost die. I wouldn't say I'm the worst either. But River Raid is one of my favorite Atari 2600 games, and I think it's one of the best. It still holds up, really, today. A lot of games, especially old Atari games, are low quality, and I guess I mean graphics low quality. I don't mean that in a bad way necessarily, but this game, the graphics are still pretty good, considering it was in 1982. Not smart. So that was 42 years ago as I'm recording this. So that's 4 decades ago. It was actually programmed, I think the programmer was named, she was named Carol Shaw. So it was a female programmer, and that was pretty rare, I guess, in 1982. But certainly when I think of Atari 2600, I do think of River Raid. It's one of the first games that pops into my head when I think about Atari 2600. Now, can I get to 20,000? I guess that's the goal. I think I can, honestly. Alright, what are you gonna do? If I don't make any silly mistakes, thank you for moving out of the way. Make sure that I'm topped out in fuel. You still haven't heard the alarm sound for fuel. I will demonstrate that if I don't... I may encounter that alarm sound here in just a bit automatically, but if I don't automatically, I'll demonstrate that. Alright. You can't hold down the button. You notice your shots track. They move as you move your airplane. See that? That was close. It was a close call. But this joystick I'm using a traditional Atari joystick. It's USB. Yes. I think I shot that one last time. Nice. It's nice to hear that. I know what you would call that sound, like a tinkling sound. I don't know the proper term for that. Ding ding ding. Ah. Oh, that was a close call. You see that brilliant gameplay on my part? As I shot the fuel tank that I needed. And I'm okay. But this game it can be very difficult as time goes on when the fuel tanks aren't as prevalent. and you don't know if the enemies are going to move or not. The helicopters and the boats, and they're more packed, they're more crowded. Makes it tough. See, I'm getting low on fuel here. Ow, this is a good one. Nice. Here's one. Alright. I think I'm doing better than the previous game. I don't know if I'm further. I think I will have more points. I think I'll get to 20,000. Can I get further than that? If I don't do stupid things? Make stupid mistakes? Ah, he moved. Now, see, I was worried about that helicopter, and I flinched. And again, I don't want to blame the joystick, but this joystick is not perfect. And I don't know if a better joystick would make it better, or if I'm just using that as an excuse. I'm probably using it as an excuse, and see, that was stupid. Ah. Shot the fuel tank. I'm shooting all the fuel tank. That's my goal, is to shoot all. Alright, I got to 20,000. That's definitely an improvement. See, that helicopter didn't move. I was just lucky. And tell the truth, I'm not sure if it's completely random, whether they move or not, or if some are random, meaning some may move, some may always, maybe it's a 50-50 chance if certain ones move, and then some may always be stationary. Now, see, I shot that bridge, so guess what? I come back to that same location. There's a fuel tank. Now, is he going to move? Yes. Now, my next goal is to try to get to 30,000. Ah! Yeah, this joystick is, I think it's a little imperfect. Again, not trying to blame the joystick. But, okay. Well, you can see copyright 1982, Activision. Now, I want to show you, I'm going to reboot, reset, and show you the sound it makes when you run low on fuel. So I'm intentionally avoiding the fuel tanks. You see the fuel is ticking down. And actually, I'll show you what happens when you run out of fuel. Those houses look the same. Those houses and trees on the side. There you go. So that's what happens. And you could also obviously crash into, and I've done this multiple times, crash into the boats. You can crash into the side. I'm really showing you stuff that I already did. Crash into helicopter. Yeah. There you go. All right, I want to try one more time just for fun, going really fast. So I'm going to try to go like full throttle, full speed, and see how far I can get. And I think on this first one, they don't move. And I say full throttle, I'm going to pull back, but I'm going to try to maintain top speed. except maybe to get fuel. You know, I'm adding more. I'm adding more modifications to this. But my point is to try to go fast. I have to slow down there. I can't help it. Ah! Oh, man. Oh. See, this joystick is a little wonky. That's what I'm going to do for all these streams, is when I make a mistake, I blame the joystick. So I have to go slow here. Alright, let's pick it back up. Oh! Quickly. I should go really, really slow, but I'd probably end up with the same result. Very poor gameplay. So that was River Raid in 1982. Maybe I'll pick it up and play it again. This is the first video from me, Dr. Retro Gaming. This has been the first foray into some retro games in the DRG. I thank you for watching, and see you next time.